Yo, what's up? It's Llama here with the No Drama Llama podcast, and this is the fourth episode, Cosmo and Playboy. So, today in class, we kind of talked about um, how magazines target certain people, and I think it's a pretty good topic to talk about. Since every time you go to a convenience store, you always see a new type of magazine coming out, and you can tell by the cover usually that it's targeting somebody. There's sports magazines, there's beauty magazines, there's all these magazines, and um, they're all trying to target some other person. So you got to figure out who they're trying to target and if that is a problem. The targeting is a problem. So first off, we were shown a Cosmopolitan magazine. You can just look up any Cosmopolitan, and a Playboy magazine. So first off, let's talk about the Cosmopolitan magazine. So this is going to be centered towards women. So we're going to talk about how usually on the cover there's something to talk about sex tips, or how then there's a girl, a very perfect girl usually, that is very hard to replicate. And so when you have that, it's so hard for women to match that. And so what they do is they look at the magazine and they're like, okay, this is what we need to be. So I don't care what type of makeup, how much it costs, and miscellaneous stuff, the hair and all that. And they're trying to make themselves look pretty by using that. So that's just not really great for women's confidence, and it really just can't be good for them. There's just an unattainable perfection that cannot be achieved through, the only way it can be achieved is through Photoshop, and that's about it. I mean, you can't really do much else. So also, we're going to talk about how usually the people that are putting out these covers are men. So they're going to want their women to be thinner. So we talked about in class how there's one theory why men want their women thinner, and it's because they want to be controlling over them, and that's about it. And so that's not really good, for sure. I mean, guys and girls want to be equal. I mean, for me personally, I want a woman that's kind of my size. And I think that's so we respect each other. I don't think it really matters too much, but it doesn't. I don't think looking for a thinner, smaller woman is always healthy for guys in a relationship, because usually if a woman's doing that, they're starving themselves, or they're doing something they don't need to be doing. And so that can't be good for them and their health, their mental health, and their physical health. And that's probably why so many young girls are in depression. And you see it all over the news of, unfortunately, you see suicides, and you see a lot of problems in the world, and that's just not good. And a lot of it comes down to media and how their influence is so widespread over what Americans think. And that's a terrible problem to have, because we need to be thinking for ourselves as Americans, but a lot of people don't know how to think for themselves. So yeah, that's a problem. And like I was saying, they always have sex tips on the covers, and that can also be something towards the guys as well. Women's role for most men is just to have sex with. They don't see them as actual people. They just see them as sex toys, and that's definitely not how I see them. But that's definitely how I see. There's a lot of people that do that. So yeah, that's not great. We talked about Betty Friedman. I don't know exactly how to say it, but she was the one that wrote The Feminine Mystique. So she was one of the big activists. Probably it was about the 50s. I can look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure it was around the 50s and everything. Yeah, it was 60s. So 63 is when she released that. So that was a pretty pivotal time during the civil rights movement. I know women during the civil rights movement just wanted to get their rights too, because they didn't have a lot of rights at that time, even though they did get the right to vote, but their rights weren't really there. So they were trying to, I wouldn't want to say piggyback, but kind of, while the African Americans are getting their rights, why don't we get ours and make everybody equal, you know? So that was what that piece tried to achieve. And back in those days, 50s, 60s, the best way to get to a man was through his stomach, so it was to cook for him. That was a quote that my teacher brought up, and I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, you see a lot of TV shows, especially back then, and a lot of it's centered around women cooking, housewives, and all they could do is cook well, and yeah, that's about it. And they'd always stay in the house, never have a job. That was a stereotypical woman at that point. Nowadays, it's about being as pretty as you can and being an object for your man, and most of the time you don't want him to be very smart. As a guy, you see guys don't want their women to be very smart. They want them to have a little intelligence, so they're kind of smart, but you don't want them to get too intelligent to where they're doing they're not doing stupid stuff, but they're doing stuff that you don't want them to do. And so many guys see that, and that's not really a good way to see that. It's kind of unhealthy, but yeah, anyways, lastly, all we talked about was how, so I was thinking of bringing this back to one of our older topics, how a lot of movies relate. They have hot women, and then they have guys that take over and take their women. But in magazines, it's kind of similar, where the Playboy magazine is where the guy wants the product. It's like a shopping catalog for women. That's all it is. You're thinking about, you're like basically buying women, and so that's how that works. But I would say Cosmopolitan is where women wants to be the product. So they're trying to buy, what they're trying to buy is beauty. That's all they're trying to buy. And so, yeah, that's about it. Anyways, this has been Land the Llama with the No Drama Llama podcast. And thanks for watching episode 4. This has been Cosmopolitan and Playboy. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. And see you later.